daring greatly. How the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead by Brené Brown. You're standing at the edge of a conversation that could change everything. The words hover just behind your teeth, honest and raw, waiting to be spoken. Your heart pounds not from fear of physical danger, but from something far more terrifying, the possibility of being truly seen. In this moment, you face a choice that defines the very architecture of human connection. Do you retreat behind the familiar walls of protection, or do you step forward into the uncertain territory of vulnerability? What feels like weakness in that suspended moment might actually be the most courageous act available to you. Brené Brown's exploration of vulnerability reveals a profound paradox that challenges everything we've been taught about strength and safety. She suggests that the very thing we spend our lives avoiding, emotional exposure without guarantee of outcome, is precisely what transforms our relationships, our leadership, and our capacity for authentic living. In a world that often prizes invulnerability and certainty, how do we reconcile this ancient wisdom with the modern demand for appearing strong and unshakable? This tension between protection and connection runs deeper than personal preference. You were likely taught, through countless small interactions and cultural messages, that vulnerability equals danger. The child who cried was told to be strong. The leader who admitted uncertainty was seen as weak. The parent who showed imperfection was judged as failing. These lessons, absorbed like water into soil, create what Brown calls our armor against vulnerability. Yet this armor, designed to protect, often becomes the very barrier that prevents us from experiencing the richness of human connection. Consider how this protection manifests in your daily life. You might find yourself crafting responses that hide uncertainty, even when admitting you don't know would be more honest and helpful. You might withhold affection until you're certain it will be reciprocated, missing opportunities for authentic intimacy. The armor takes many forms: perfectionism that demands flawless performance, numbing behaviors that dull both pain and joy, or cynicism that dismisses hope before it can lead to disappointment. Each protective strategy serves its purpose, yet each also creates distance from the very experiences that make life meaningful. The courage to shed this armor requires understanding what Brown calls wholehearted living. This isn't about reckless emotional exposure or naive optimism about human nature. Instead, it's a deliberate practice of showing up as you are, not as you think you should be. Wholehearted living recognizes that uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure are not obstacles to overcome, but essential ingredients of a life fully lived. When you choose vulnerability, you choose to value connection over comfort, authenticity over approval. This choice reverberates through every aspect of human experience. In relationships, vulnerability becomes the gateway to intimacy that transcends surface-level interaction. When you share your genuine struggles rather than curated successes, you invite others to do the same. The conversation shifts from performance to presence, from proving worth to simply being worthy of connection. Yet this transformation requires both people to embrace the discomfort of being seen without masks, a mutual courage that cannot be forced or faked. In our contemporary world, the stakes of this choice feel particularly high. Social media creates unprecedented opportunities for both connection and performance, often blurring the lines between authentic sharing and strategic presentation. You might find yourself crafting online personas that highlight strength while hiding struggle, creating digital armor that promises connection while actually preventing it. The algorithm rewards certainty and success, making vulnerability feel not just uncomfortable, but economically disadvantageous. The professional sphere presents its own complexities. Traditional leadership models often equate authority with invulnerability, suggesting that admitting mistakes or uncertainty undermines credibility. Yet Brown's research reveals that leaders who practice vulnerability create environments of psychological safety where innovation flourishes and trust deepens. When you witness a leader acknowledge their limitations and invite collaboration rather than demanding compliance, you experience a different model of strength. This vulnerability-based leadership doesn't abandon accountability. It enhances it by creating space for honest feedback and genuine growth. Perhaps nowhere is the tension more acute than in parenting, where the impulse to protect children from life's difficulties conflicts with the need to model resilience and authenticity. You might find yourself caught between wanting to appear as a steady, unshakable presence and recognizing that children learn as much from observing their parents navigate uncertainty as from receiving instruction. When parents practice wholehearted living, sharing appropriate struggles, and modeling self-compassion, they offer children permission to be human rather than perfect. The deeper question becomes, what would shift in your life if you treated vulnerability as a skill rather than a threat? This reframing transforms emotional exposure from something that happens to you into something you consciously choose. Like any skill, vulnerability can be practiced and refined. You can start small, sharing one genuine struggle with a trusted friend or admitting uncertainty in a low-stakes situation. Each practice builds what Brown calls shame resilience, the ability to experience discomfort without being derailed by it. This practice becomes particularly relevant as we navigate collective challenges that require both individual courage and communal vulnerability. Climate change, social inequality, and technological disruption all demand responses that acknowledge uncertainty while still taking action. The old model of leadership through projected invulnerability feels increasingly inadequate for problems that have no clear solutions and require genuine collaboration across difference. The key insight emerging from this exploration is that vulnerability and strength are not opposites, but companions. When you practice emotional courage, you develop the capacity to stay present with discomfort, both your own and others. This presence becomes a gift in a world that often demands either false optimism or defensive cynicism. The second crucial takeaway is that wholehearted living is not a destination, but a daily practice of choosing authenticity over armor, even when that choice feels risky. As you consider these ideas, one question lingers with particular urgency. In what areas of your life are you currently choosing the safety of armor over the possibility of genuine connection? And what small step toward vulnerability might you take tomorrow? The night settles around these questions like a gentle embrace, not demanding immediate answers, but inviting continued reflection. Perhaps the greatest courage lies not in having perfect clarity about vulnerability's outcomes, but in trusting that the act of showing up authentically, whatever the response, is itself a complete and worthy endeavor. In this trust, you find not weakness, but the renewable strength that comes from living in alignment with your deepest values rather than your deepest fears.